Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for inviting me to participate in this program. And it is on a topic that is gaining importance by the day. Given the situation in Sri Lanka regarding the Muslim community, it is falling on the head of Muslims living outside the country to think of helping that community, not only that community, but helping the entire country in whichever way they can do. So therefore, this topic, current and very important, and I hope that we are talking here will be useful to take further action. Now, before we going into that issue, help, let me make one or two preliminary remarks regarding Sri Lankan Muslim diaspora. The whole phenomenon of Sri Lankan Muslim diaspora is a very recent one. In fact, Muslims for a long time never thought or never even dreamt of migrating to another country. After the 1915 riots, when the Muslims incurred heavy losses, no Muslim member in that country ever thought of settling down in another country. Instead, they became even more firmly rooted in the Sri Lankan soil. Now, this is an important difference between the reaction by the Tamil community and the Muslim community whenever a riot took place. From 1957 onwards, when the anti-Muslim, anti-Tamil riots started, after each riot, we found that a fair number of Tamils, intellectuals and educated people and entrepreneurs went into another country in search of a greener pasture. But the Muslims stayed put, in spite of all difficulties, until after 2019. So it's a very recent phenomenon. That's the first point I want to make. And secondly, what is our strength? How many Muslims are there living abroad as permanent residents or citizens of other countries? So far, no one has done a census on this. The guesstimate is that our number is not even 1/10 of the Tamil diaspora. The Tamil diaspora also has not been actually counted. The strength has not been counted, but it is estimated that their number has reached almost 500,000. We are not even 1/10 of their strength. That's the second point. Thirdly, we also must remember that there is a growing singular Sri Lankan diaspora at the moment. So it looks that not only the Tamils and Muslims, but even the Sinhalese, in whose interest the regime is saying that they are acting, even the Sinhalese are finding it difficult to live in that country. That's one wrong. That's the question that you all have to think. Therefore, when you talk about the way we can help Sri Lanka and the Muslims in particular, we can think of that on three levels. Firstly, we can think of that problem on the individual level. Secondly, on a collective level, including the Sinhalese, Muslims, as well as Tamils. And thirdly, what the Muslim diaspora itself can do on its own. Those are the three levels at which I would like to tackle this problem. So the first part, individually, what can we do? In fact, almost all Muslims who live abroad are doing to their capacity whatever they could. What can they do after all? They can help their families in difficulties. And sometimes if the family, if the village or town needs some help to, for example, build a school or a madrasa or naturally a lot of people are helping. So there's no question that those who could afford their own or financially and otherwise, they are helping their families, their village, their towns. No question about it, and that's going on for a long time. On the second part, collectively. When I say collectively, I include the Tamil diaspora, the Muslim diaspora, and the recent Sinhala diaspora. Now, the Muslims alone doesn't have the strength to act in regard to the issues that is now hampering the growth of Sri Lankan economy, health of the people, education, so on and so forth. In fact, the whole country is in problem, in a state of paralysis. So we have to act in combination with other diaspora, and act for what? The most important issue, as far as I'm concerned, that affects the Sri Lanka, that there is a rule of injustice. I wrote in a couple of essays published earlier that without justice, there can't be prosperity. And it was one of the Muslim thinkers, 9th century, I think, or 6th or 7th century, who said that there's no kingdom without army, there's no army without wealth, there's no wealth without prosperity, and there's no prosperity without justice. That justice has been denied, not only to Muslims, it has been denied to every community. So every decent citizen believes that it is injustice that rules the country. The question is how to do justice. Now, before us, before the Muslims, the Tamils have already started acting on this issue. They are approaching international bodies like the Human Rights Council of United Nations. They are approaching the European community. Even in America, they are talking to members of the legislature to address the issues. Their brethren who are suffering in that country for a long time. Justice had not been done after the civil war to the Tamil community. Now, what we had to do is that we extend that sort of agitation. We should extend that to all people in Sri Lanka. So the Sri Lanka's Muslims' prosperity and peace depends on the prosperity and peace of the Sinhalese and Tamils. So our issue is common. So we should not identify ourselves as something separate. So therefore, we have to join the other diaspora, the Tamil diaspora and the Sinhala diaspora, which is now growing in number, in approaching international bodies, like, as I said, the UN Human Rights Commission, European Community, and the American, what do you call it? The Quad. What is it? The Quad is the 4 nations: Japan, America, Britain, and India. I think the 4 Quad. Focus rather. Australia, United Kingdom, and the United States. So these bodies, we had to work through them. We had to make them realize that something has to be done to bring justice to people in that country. Without that, that country cannot prosper. So therefore, once again, I'm reiterating that the Muslim diaspora has to work hand in hand with the other diasporas. In fact, recently in Geneva, there was a demonstration when the second meeting took place last September, or this September, there were demonstrations. There were Tamils and mostly Tamils took part. We should join such people. Wherever possible, when there are demonstrations, when there are open activities, I think the Muslims also participate. We are not losing anything. We are not asking anything separate. We are only asking justice for the people in that country. So that is the way we can correct it. But there's one more important, the third part. So individually we are doing something. Collectively we must join the others. But what can the Muslim diaspora on its own, what can we do? This is where I want to emphasize that we have something that we can do by ourselves. There are 57 Muslim countries today. I'm not talking about the universal concept of Ummah. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about there are 57 Muslim countries today, and they have an organization. It's the Organization of Islamic Congress. Recently, we knew that OIC issued or passed a motion criticizing the Sri Lankan government regarding the way they are treating the Muslims. I think we have to work through this body, because individually we cannot influence the actions of all 57 Muslims. Within the Muslim country, within the 57 Muslim countries, oil-producing Arab countries are a separate group. OPEC, Organization of Arab Petroleum Exporting Countries. They are wealthy. Sri Lanka today needs foreign investment. The country is virtually bankrupt. The debt burden has increased, is more than the government revenue, national income. So the debt burden is quite high. Without foreign investment, that economy has no prospects of growing. They are approaching the Arab countries. Recently, they had talks in Oman, in Qatar, and Kuwait. In all these places, the government ministers and diplomats are meeting to encourage these Arab countries to not only to invest in Sri Lanka, but also to open up opportunities, employment opportunities for Sri Lankans to work in those countries. Now, these are very vital link between Sri Lanka and Arab countries. We can't do anything about that. We can't go and tell Qatar or country to do something. We are not asking them to stop this. We welcome the investment. We want investment in the country. We want the country to prosper. That's our mother country. So we are not saying that the Arabs should stop investing in Sri Lanka, or they have to stop Sri Lankans getting employment in those countries. We are not saying that. All that we are saying is, let there be some conditions attached to this help. It's not an open go where you can go and invest. Let's ask those people, bring some pressure on those investors, some conditions. Like what the EU is doing. EU says today that there is a threat of withdrawing the special concession given to Sri Lankan export. That has woken up the Sri Lankan authority. If that happens, if the threat is executed, the small and medium-sized industries in Sri Lanka just die. Because it's the largest exporting destination for these small and medium-scale industries. If the ECU act upon its word threat, Sri Lanka is in jeopardy. This economy is in jeopardy. So recently there was a delegation in Sri Lanka. They had a talk. We find that there is a sign that the government's foreign policy is changing slowly in sympathy towards India and the West. Similarly, to make a change, we need OIC to bring sufficient pressure on the Sri Lankan government to make or bring out justice. They are talking for all people, not for only Sri Lankans. To do that, we are in a special position. Muslim diaspora. If we could find some way of having a discussion, a direct discussion with the secretary of OIC or some important bodies in the organization, I think that will be a great achievement. I feel that this diaspora, there must be some people here who are capable of articulating grievances of the Muslim community and the grievances of the Sri Lankan society itself. So there must be, we have to present our case, broader perspective, to the Secretary of the OIC, and through him bring pressure on other governments to take some sort of, to impose some sort of conditionality to invest in that country and to help the economy of the country. And so that people in the country can live in peace and justice, which is now denied because of the authoritarianism of the present government and the way they are acting on various issues. I can't go into the details of what they are, but it's very clear. It's very clear. Satisfaction about the regime is now spreading. In spite of Corona or COVID-19. COVID-19 gave us some sort of protection for the authorities, keep the people under control. Now they are coming out. Once the economy is open, once the country is open, they are prepared to come out. They feel the pinch. They feel the economic pressure. A number of households, they can't afford to have a 3 times meal a day. There's no milk powder. There's no rice to buy. Prices are going up, skyrocketing. People can't bear the life. And believe me, the statistics are have not come out lately. Recent statistics, I'm sure, will show that the suicide rate has gone up. Is that the country that we want? Is that the country that we love? So we want to help them. We want to help our country. We want to help our people. We want to help all the people. As I said, unless the size of the cake expands, the piece that we have also cannot expand. So we are trying to work to increase the size of the cake, national cake. And that is what we are saying. We'll work with the other diaspora collectively. Individually, we will help as much as possible. But as a group, as a Muslim group, we have a special link with OIC. Through OIC, we should try to achieve something that can be very helpful to our community and to our country. That is my message, and I hope I have made it clear myself. Thank you for inviting me again. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.